Okay, as I mentioned earlier, we are going on a test drive on the 1980 Honda CB900 Custom. Just recently installed a set of EBC brake rotors along with new pads, and just out for a ride, seeing what I think of the new rotors, and just give you a little bit of information on what it's like to ride a well-kept, well-sorted out CB900 Custom. One of the first things that you'll notice on riding the CB900 Custom is how smooth it is. It's especially compared with the other inline four cylinders of the era, it is super smooth. Right now I do want to show you one of the unique features. So I'm running along in low range in 5th gear, and I'm going to switch up to high gear, high range here. And so what it does is it just nicely drops my RPM and makes for more relaxed cruising at speed. As you can, hopefully, as you can hear, there's no hesitation in the carburation, there's no surging. This bike runs very, very smoothly now. From stock, they were lean from the factory, just due to the emissions that they had to go through, emissions testing in the early 80s. And so what I have done is, on the needles, I have shimmed the needles up with one, just a thin washer, and I have gone 3 turns out on the air fuel screws, and it just makes a world of difference. Pulls from low RPM smoothly through the rev range. Now I am still in high range here, as you can hear. I'm simply using the bike as a 5-speed in high range. And so I know it sounds complex, but with a 10-speed gearbox, but the reality is it's a 5-speed with just a dual range, high and low. The Honda, compared to the other cruisers of the time period, the Honda soaks up the bumps the best. It's definitely the smoothest to ride. It's a little bit heavier than the other machines. In combination with a smaller motor, it does not have the torque or the horsepower that the other ones generate, but top speeds around the same as the other 1000s and 1100s of the time period, and top speed on most of them is right around 130 miles an hour. But in this seating position, without any wind protection, I'm not going to come anywhere close to that. 100 miles an hour on something like this would just feel, put the fear of God in you, because it feels that fast. I guess people were real men back in the 80s and actually tested these things to their absolute top speed, but I really don't have any desire to. If I want to go fast like that, I will ride something modern. But for the weight of the bike, it is close to 600 pounds, full of fuel, and like I say, it's probably one of the heavier, probably the heaviest of the 1000cc category cruiser bikes. But it wears its weight well. Honda, instead of putting the buckhorn bars on, they put almost a beachcomber, a little bit wider bar on the bike, and very comfortable, and it gives you the leverage to in the corners and at lower speed. But the bike is, again, when you compare it to the other, the feel of the Honda is just one of refinement. And you can see even down as low as 2,000 RPM, it just picks up so smoothly, not even a hiccup. I'm not sure how much of the exhaust sound you're getting. I can hear it. I've got the earplugs in, but I can hear the exhaust. It's got the 4-into-4 exhaust on it, which looks really cool. I'm sure that adds significantly to the weight of the bike. But it looks cool and it sounds good. Everything, the fit and finish on this bike is very nice. Again, it just feels like it's maybe a step up from some of the other manufacturers in the way that the fit and finish of the Honda is. And we're just on some of these beautiful Pennsylvania back roads, and this is where this bike is just such a joy to ride. You just enjoy the nice pavement, beautiful scenery. This bike is just liquid smooth, very, very nice. I'll go ahead and get on the brakes and just let you see it's a drama-free stop. And so that's the difference. Beforehand, I probably would have been stopping closer to this white post, definitely beyond that tree. But the new EBC brake rotors, man, what a difference. In combination with the Spiegler brake lines. This bike, when I first got it, honestly was not safe to ride, just because the brake lines had degraded to the point where they weren't transferring much stopping power to the calipers, and the rotors were warped and glazed, the original calipers. And these new rotors, another thing, the advantage that the EBC rotors have is they're floating rotors, and they just perform much better. It's on the vintage bikes, I'd like to keep them as close to stock as possible. I'm not opposed to putting on some modifications that will improve the bike, either rideability or sound, or I generally don't replace exhaust unless it's discolored and unsightly, but I definitely, for me, it's just a good excuse to put an aftermarket pipe on, good quality aftermarket pipe. Go ahead. Yeah, current temperature here in Pennsylvania is about 50 degrees, so it's certainly not a warm day, but honestly, after a little bit of 30-degree weather, 50 feels great. And I'll demonstrate, I'm still in high range, but with this, especially with the 1980 Honda, it pulls out very nicely in high range. You could get away with just leaving it in high range all the time and it would not feel oddly geared. On the 1982, they did up the gearing and made it more relaxed in high range, and so it's a little bit, it feels like you're stressing the bike out a little bit and burning the clutch a little bit to run that bike in high range when you're pulling out from a stop. But this one's just fine with it. Surprisingly, I've got, surprisingly, the between my 1980 Honda CB900 Custom and my 1982 CB900 Custom, there's a great amount of differences between the bikes. And if you look at them closely, the brake rotors, the brake calipers, feels like a little bit of the suspension, and just a lot of little details were upgraded, including the transmission. And I just find it surprising that Honda was developing their Magnas at the time and still bothered to continually upgrade the CB900 in the meantime. But it just makes the CB900 is just a very nice to live with. It's a nice bike. It may not have the rawness or the edge or the absolute handling or speed of some of the other contenders, but just all around, as far as a nice place to be, beautiful bike to look at, great build quality, and really probably one of the smoothest bikes. It would compare very favorably in smoothness to any of the bikes out today. Yeah, the handling in the corners is really nice. I ride vintage bikes. I'm not trying to set any kind of speed records with my vintage machines. I enjoy riding them. You can certainly ride them at a quick pace, and they handle well. But you know, if I want to go fast, I'll go to a track and I'll ride a modern super sport. But if you do know how to ride these older bikes, quite frankly, on the road, they definitely keep up very well. A lot of people are surprised with how well they keep up on a back road, twisty road, even with the more modern, more sporting machines. Let you take in some of Pennsylvania's scenery. Shift quality on the Honda is very nice, very smooth, just fits the rest of the bike. It's a little bit more shift lever travel than on some of the other bikes. It's not quite as direct a feel. I do prefer the more direct feel of the Suzuki's, but the Honda might be even a little bit smoother than that. It's a little bit longer travel on the shifter. I drive a lot of shaft drive bikes, and there have been, again, reading the reviews on these Hondas originally from back in the 80s, they did criticize them a little bit for some shaft jacking, where the back end of the bike lifts under acceleration. And while that might be the case under maximum acceleration, it's not something that you notice while driving the bike in normal conditions. Yeah, we're coming downhill and coming to a stop here, and these EBC rotors are just such an improvement. It brakes nicely and smoothly, coming to a stop. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and get a little bit of a sense of what it's like to ride Honda's 1980 CB900 Custom. This one, it's just great to have vintage bikes and get them back on the road and have them where they can be enjoyed. And I plan on taking this to some bike events and just share it, let other people take a look, and I feel like it's an obligation to preserve some of the bike history. I feel like we're stewards of older bikes and cars, and just preserving them for the next generation. So, hope you enjoy. Have a great day.